Hello, friend. My name is Tom, and I am the site editor and co-founder of Your Other Brothers, a community that is navigating faith, homosexuality, and masculinity together. Get my trusty pen. All right. Welcome back, everyone. This is Manly Monday, our third episode of Manly Monday, our new bi-monthly/bi-weekly video series at yourotherbrothers.com. And really excited today. Today I'm going to talk about one of our 5 values. Your Other Brothers, our community, we have 5 values that we hold above all the others. And we're going to talk about the first one today. So stay tuned. And you can read about all 5 of our values, as well as our origin story and frequently asked questions if you go to our About page, yourotherbrothers.com/about. And you can read all about it. But today we're talking about our first value, and one that I hold dear to my heart / dear to my wrist. And that is the value of hope. I'm often rolling. This is great. Often rolling or often running? Don't know. Okay, here we go. Let's continue. So we're still, as of the recording of this video, at the beginning of a new year, and the popular trendy thing to do amongst people, at least in America, I don't know how this works around the world. I'm kind of sheltered. But in American culture, New Year's resolutions are a big deal. We make a huge deal out of New Year's resolutions as December winds down, and especially as January starts up. And for a while, I was one of those people. I would have New Year's resolutions, and I said I would work out this many times, or run this many times, or save up this much money, or, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't want to say like 9 times out of 10, I don't want to paint like a big number on it for all my failures, but I would say for the most part, those resolutions didn't hold up by the end of the year. Like maybe I got going on a good trajectory for the first few months, maybe even most of the year. But by the end of the year, it was rare that I could accomplish something so mammoth and gargantuan that I set out on January 1st to do. And I just lost steam, or I lost interest, or just decided maybe next year. So something that I've embraced in recent years, actually I haven't done it lately in the last couple of years, but for a good, I would say 3 or 4 year stretch a few years ago, I started embracing this new way of looking at resolutions called various things, but essentially what I would do is paint my year through the framework of a single word. And that way it's less stressful when you're trying to think, oh my gosh, I have 17 things that I want to accomplish this year, or keep going perpetually throughout the year. It removes the stress and the weight and the onus of having to keep up with those 17 things. And instead, really, all you're doing is waking up every day and looking through the lens of a single word and trying to exhibit that word, that virtue, throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout your month, and throughout your year. And so I remember a few years ago, hope was a virtue, was a word that I decided to live my year through. I am a generally hopeless person. Are there any INFJ Enneagram 4s out there in the house? Because hope for me is hard. It's hard to summon that up. I'm a generally melancholic person, and that doesn't mean I'm sad all the time. It doesn't mean I'm depressed all the time. But it does mean I tend to linger on things, and I tend to look at maybe some of the sadder elements, the weightier elements of life. And sometimes, some days, sunniness and optimism is hard. Sometimes hope is hard. And at a particularly challenging time in my life, I decided I was going to look at my year through the lens of hope. And so what I actually did was I actually literally would write the word hope on my wrist, sometimes multiple times a day if the ink faded. Sometimes I'd use pen ink, sometimes I'd use permanent marker. But essentially, I would write this word on my body every day, multiple times a week for the better part of a year. And it was a visual reminder to keep hope when hope seemed frail and hope seemed so far away and so foreign to everything that I was feeling. And it was huge. I understand now why people get tattoos. I used to not understand why would you want to deface your body in such a way. And I don't have any tattoos. If I ever got one, that's one that I would consider getting. It's something to both twofold have a story, because I'm all about the story, but also for the reminder and to have this visual right in front of me, somewhere where I can see it, whether it's on my wrist or what have you. But this word hope, I wrote it on my wrist, and it was something that really was pivotal a couple years ago when I was going through changes and growing up and trying to figure out life and job and relationships and fitting in and my grand purpose in life. And here at Your Other Brothers, we value hope. It's our very first value. We have a little logo with 3 little boys in a boat or climbing a mountain or soaring in the skies. And each of those logos, we have the star, the North Star, our hope, that the boy in the middle is pointing to. And it's like centering and it's anchoring. And really, every day, we are guided by this hope. And I wanted to read from our About page. This is from yourotherbrothers.com/about. And we have a little write-up, a little sentence about hope that we hold to, and then a verse as well. So, we believe in a God who saw us from the start and calls us now, trusting he will lead us home. We look to him and follow him because his ways are good and best. And our verse that we've attached to the value of hope is from Lamentations 3:24. Any Lamentations fans out there? It's the same INFJ Enneagram 4 crowd, I realize. Here is what Lamentations 3:24 says. It says, "The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I will hope in him." And even just today, actually, I was reading through Hebrews and saw another verse that really jumped out. It was from Hebrews 3:6. And it says, "And we are his house, if indeed we hold fast our confidence and our boasting in our hope." And another version reads, "The hope firm to the end." And for some reason, that line, "the hope firm to the end," really conjured up a song from one of my favorite movies, at least one of my favorite animated movies, maybe my favorite animated movie. And that's The Prince of Egypt. And The Prince of Egypt, there's a song called "When You Believe." And there's a line in that song that says, "Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill." Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. And honestly, I've been pondering hope lately, and especially today. And the thing about hope is all you need is a little. And a little bit of hope is just as valuable, just as potent and powerful as a lot of it. And I have hope, and that's why I write it on my body still. Even all these years later, I still, every once in a while, will just take a pen to my wrist and just write the word hope and remind myself visually that there is hope. And I have hope that if we put our portion in God and following him and laying down ourselves to choose him and to choose a better way and a better path, I believe that that hope will carry us home and will carry us through those dark nights of the soul. And it's never going to be easy. It's never going to be a joyride by any means, but I believe in the end it will be worth it. And I believe after all these years of writing hope on my wrist that it has been worth it. And I hope that for you, you can find hope. And my challenge for you, I don't know if you're a tattoo person. I don't know if you draw on yourself. I don't know if that bothers you. But I recommend, if hope is something that's hard to find, if hope feels frail, I would say write the word out. I'm a big visual person. And so whether you write the word hope on your wrist like I like to do, whether you write it on a sticky note and put it on your bathroom mirror, put it in your car, on your dashboard, anywhere that you can see it, on the fridge, anywhere. Anywhere. On your front door, you could use 13 sticky notes and just place them everywhere in multiple locations throughout the day. And you don't even have to necessarily do this with just hope. Anything that is hard for you to summon, a virtue that's hard to summon. For me, it just happens to be hope. Hope is a hard one. And so writing it out helps me visualize it, helps me remember what it is my portion is in. And so I hope that that can help you as well. All right, it's time for our bi-monthly/bi-weekly roundup of everything Your Other Brothers. It's time for the State of the Yob, where we go around and look at the blogs, podcasts, video content that made the rounds this week on our site. So let's start with our blog. Eugene wrote an amazing post called "I Used to Hate Gay People." And I resonate with this one a lot because I actually used to hate gay people too. The sense that I am separate from them, why are they the way that they are, distancing myself from the situation, essentially living in denial for the better part of my adolescence, that I was also someone wrestling and holding these same-sex attractions and not really knowing how to process them or how to acknowledge them and look them in the mirror, and how that seeds into judgment and critical words and critical behavior amongst gay people or about gay people. So that's a really great blog post that talks about his journey about coming out of that and how he no longer hates gay people. So check out Eugene's post. And then we have a post by Dean, who wrote one called "More Than Just My Best Friend." And this post really hit home because it was about a friendship that Dean has in his life, about a hard time that he recently went through in his life, and how his best friend was there for him, and essentially how his best friend felt more like a brother, like a biological, true brother. And all about the power of physical touch and words of affirmation and just really powerful stuff about friendship. And I can point to a handful of friendships in my life that have acted in similar ways, where a best friend, someone outside of my biological bloodline, felt more attached than than they are from the outside. So check that post out. And then lastly, one of our newer bloggers, Jacob, wrote a blog post called What I Find at the End of Myself. And he does a really great job of capturing just the raw intensity and emotion of reaching the end of yourself, and what do you do when you get there, and who do you encounter, and what do you do with all that emotion when you're wrestling with matters of faith and relationships, and how to navigate moving forward when you feel like you're on a different trajectory than most of humanity, or at least most of the church. So check out that post from Jacob. It's really great, and I think you'll love it. And that's our blog. If you want to comment on our blog, we love discussion and we love comments. Don't be shy, but share whatever you feel led or comfortable and able to share. Just go to yourotherbrothers.com/blog. And then on our podcast this last week, we talked about physical touch. Again, because there was so much to say the first time. This was part 2, our 30th episode. We hit the big 3-0. We are no longer a wandering 20-something. We are now a wandering 30-something, trying to figure out how to exist in the podcast world. But we just talked about physical touch for the better part of 3 hours, split it into 2 episodes. And this one, the second part, the conclusion, we talked about boundaries and cuddling and the question of what's okay and what's not okay about men touching other men, especially men of same-sex attraction orientation touching other men of same-sex attraction orientation. And it was a really great discussion. We had some diverse viewpoints and a lot of interesting back and forth and camaraderie as well. And as well as the notion of do us. The notion, do we, as men of faith with same-sex attractions, do we require more touch than the rest of the population? Someone on our show says yes, and someone on our show says no. So you'll have to listen to that for that interesting discussion. And then also at the end of our episode, we talked to Richard of the 4 T's and the church. He has a blog and a podcast, and he writes and speaks about homosexuality in the church and how to approach it. So we had a really great conversation with him as he talks about his 4 T's on his blog, and one of his T's being touch. So listen to that episode. I think you'll enjoy it. If you have any thoughts on that episode, or if you want to listen to any of our episodes, you can go to yourotherbrothers.com/podcast. You can comment on any of our episodes from 1 to 30, anywhere in between. And if you love our show, you can also support us by subscribing, first of all, on iTunes or whatever podcast app of your choice. And then you can also rate and review us on iTunes if that is something that you enjoy. If you love the show, any words of encouragement, a rating really helps us out and goes a long way. And then the final realm of our site after blog and podcast is our video content. You can go to yourotherbrothers.com/video and watch any of our videos that we've done. We've now done, this is our 3rd Manly Monday. If you've missed our previous 2, you can catch them there, as well as the comments. We've had some really great discussion about our last 2 videos. And we have a couple creative videos as well, a spoken word and another video as well. So we have video content that we are budding and creating, and it's exciting, and you can go there for all of our video content moving forward. And if you enjoy Manly Monday, if you enjoy our podcast, if you enjoy our blog, if you enjoy anything related to Your Other Brothers, or hopefully all of it, we would love your support. You can support us financially by going to patreon.com/yourotherbros. And I'm overwhelmed and humbled by these guys. We have over 100 people currently supporting us on Patreon with monthly pledges, and that supports everything that we do. It helps with equipment, it helps with hosting, it helps support our livelihood as we pour our time and resources into this dynamic storytelling community. So if you love what we're doing, you can go to that site on Patreon, read all the information, watch a video from yours truly, and we really appreciate the support, because your support makes videos like these happen. So thank you. All of our yobbers, all of our supporters, love you so much. All right, and to wrap things up here on Manly Monday, we are going to dive into the mailbag, and this is an opportunity to look at the emails and the snail mail that we've received over the last 2 weeks. So I wanted to read from our email inbox first. And this comes from a great guy who sent a really awesome message in response to the last Manly Monday, where I talked about a man who falls 7 times. What do you call him? Or what does Scripture call him if he rises 8 times? And so in the midst of topics of temptation and how to overcome after repetitive falls, what do you do? This guy sent me this email, and I thought I'd read a snippet of it for everybody today. He says, "When I get tempted to watch porn, I try to do a quick prayer, recite 1 Corinthians 10:13, or ask the Lord for strength. Most of the time, these things work. I think the reason they don't is because I didn't want them to. My desire means more to me than my relationship with God. I think because of my age, my desire to watch isn't as strong as my desire to masturbate. Most of the time, I spend an average of 4 hours watching porn just to find a video that will get me off. Another thing I do to resist temptation is not charge my tablet. I've found that when I get my tablet charged, I've already made up my mind that I would watch porn. From that point on, I turn my mind off about anything even remotely related to Christianity or God. I'm really grateful for this group because I can share openly without judgment. And we're grateful for you for sending us that email. I can resonate with so much of that. The whole notion that we can pray to God and ask him for help. But at the end of the day, are we really asking him for help if as we're praying it, we're like opening up the laptop or taking it out? The part about the tablet charge, that resonates strongly with me. Because for me, for a long time, I used to leave my laptop actually in my car in the parking lot. And maybe that wasn't like the wisest thing to do in case, someone walks past and sees, a $1,000 laptop just sitting there in a bag. Or if it's in a bag, I guess you can hide it. But anyway, the reason I used to hide it in my car is so that it intentionally wouldn't be like within reasonable reach of me in case I was tempted at night. And essentially what I would do is I would lock my laptop in my car, hundreds of feet away, wherever I'm parked. And that way in the middle of the night, if I'm tempted, my computer just isn't right there that I can reach for it. I would have to take significant effort to put on clothes and grab my keys and walk out the door and walk down the stairs and walk down the street and all that convoluted stuff just to get a fix, for a couple hours. And ultimately, a lot of times, my head, my sleepiness, I would just be like, no, it's not worth it. I'm going back to sleep. Or I would just go to sleep straight away from the beginning. So I resonate with that about not charging things, about not having technology in your room. Someone made a comment about that on our last post. I think those are all brilliant suggestions. So if you have any other suggestions about how to avoid temptation in just simple, practical ways, because you can't escape temptation completely. That's impossible and unrealistic. But what are some basic things you can do to put up those barriers to make it as hard as possible to give in to temptation? And the technology aspect, I think, is a big one. So thanks for that recommendation and suggestion from your life experience. So if you want to email the show, send us an email. I would love to hear from you. manlymonday@yourotherbrothers.com. Will not reveal your identity. I know I had a couple actually responses about, are you going to read my name on the air? I will never read your name or any identifying details. If you just have practical things to share with me or encouragement or feedback for the show, would love to hear from you. So shoot me an email. I'll be waiting. Finally, we also have a P.O. Box. You're the Brothers. P.O. Box 843, Asheville, North Carolina 28802. People send us stuff all the time, and it just, again, affirms to me over and over and over that we have the best followers, the best fans, the best supporters in the world, the best yobbers. So on a recent podcast, we talked about labels, and I put it out there. Our sponsor for the show was Label Makers, naturally. I put it out there. It'd be awesome if someone could send us a label maker so we could play with it. And y'all, again, because we have the best supporters, look what we got in the mail this week. Whoever sent this, if you're watching right now, I love you so much. I've been playing with this thing for the better part of a day, just printing out the most random things and words and names and symbols and just typing things and pushing the button and it pops out. It is simultaneously the most amazing yet ridiculous invention that was ever concocted. And I'm so glad that we finally have a label maker. If you want to send us, not a label maker, but anything. We're a big fan of tea in the Yob household. Or if you just want to write us a letter, honestly, handwritten letters and postcards are incredible, and I love them so much. And it has such a personal touch, and I'm vowing, it's my New Year's resolution, to write everyone who writes us, to write them back this year. And so I would love to receive your letter or postcard in the mail, and I'd love to write you back and say hello and thank you for contributing to my joy when I go to the mailbox every day. All right, y'all. So that's it. That's Manly Monday for today. If you enjoy what you see, in addition to Patreon, in addition to commenting on our site, you can also comment below on this video. If you want to comment on our site, you can go to yourotherbrothers.com/video, find this Manly Monday link, and comment about what is a virtue that's hard for you to find and hard for you to remember in your life. And what can you do? What practical steps can you do to achieve that and remember that and keep it close to your heart and close to your mind today? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoy our YobTube channel, please subscribe. Subscribe to our channel. Thumbs up, like this video if you do indeed thumbs up, like it. And that helps us, again, in all these other little ways, helps us grow and extend our reach even further. So that is all for today. And as always, my name is Tom, and so as we leave, let's try out that new send-off. All right, everybody. See you next time. Remember, as we head out, speak meekly, chase madly, and be manly. Everywhere in between. See you in 2 weeks.